Good morning, this is Stephen Cook with Cook Saw Manufacturing again. Wanted to bring you a video this morning and talk a little bit about the thickness of thin kerf bandsaw blades. Thickness is very important according to what situation you're in, but the whole idea of the thin kerf industry was about saving sawdust or saving wood, leave it in the board and not make sawdust out of it. And some, if you're just an average guy or in a regular grade lumber cutting situation, that's not the biggest deal in the world. But we used to use circle saw blades that were 1/4 of an inch thick. They'd have carbide blades that would be 1/4 of an inch thick. Well, we're down on most of thin kerf blades and below 55 thousandths. Now there's also set that comes into play, but 20, 25 thousandths on the left hand, 20, 25 on the right, so you got 50 and 55, but we're staying less than 1/8 of an inch. If you're in a resaw situation where you're cutting thin boards, it even more comes into play. And we built resaws before where a man was making a fencing, and he wanted to save a 5/16 board. So by the time he made several cuts, he would save a 5/16 to 3/8. I think he was coming in just under 3/8, but it was acceptable. And he saved one board per cant just because he was saving just a few thousandths on each board. And so sometimes that can be very critical to you, and that's why these thin kerf are out there, because we're saving more wood. Another thing about thickness that's important ties into the sawmill that you're running itself. The thinner the thickness, 035 is the thinnest we deal with. Now if you get into hobby shops and in your garage and those type of bandsaw blades, they get on down, I'm not even sure how low, but 20 thousandths I know. But the thinnest we use is 35 thousandths. And we have 35, 42, 50, and 55. If you get a 55 thousandths blade that's 1.5 inches, you don't need to run it on a 19-inch wheel. Now people do it, and I'm not saying you can't, but I'm saying the smaller the wheel is and the thicker the blade, the shorter the life of the blade normally. If you're wanting to cut some production and need it really straight and want to feel confident, I mean, you may sacrifice the blade. It's all about that point of diminishing return. The thicker the blade, then the larger diameter wheels. On our mills, we run 26-inch diameter wheels. On our AC36s, on our MP32, we use 19-inch wheels. We run 1.25 inches 042 on our MP32s with the 19-inch wheels. On the AC36, we'll go to 2-inch 055 even. But that thickness really comes into play. The hardness of the steel comes into play with that as well. The harder it is and the thicker it is, the more you need larger wheels. Again, it's about curving around that wheel, and if you're going real tight or if you're just making a less bend, a radius in that bend, then you're not giving that overall effect that you would a wire where you bend it and bend it and bend it until it breaks. And that's what that's all about. And the thicker it is, the less it doesn't need to bend as tightly around that wheel to get the life that you need. And the thicker blade, of course, is more expensive. There's more steel in it. So the thicker blade costs a little more, and you want to get the life out of that blade that you can. Another advantage of a thicker blade is that it's stiffer. It's stiffer this way, or even as you twist it, it's not as easy to move and give and go out of the cut. And all of this is assuming you have your roller guides right. We'll talk about that in another video and how to adjust those. But if everything is cutting straight away, not down or not up, but straight away, then the thicker blade stays in the cut better. You can run a little faster. The more accurate every machine is, the better it'll cut with whatever blade, thinner or thicker. But the whole idea of having thicker is just sawing a little bit faster because you have more beam strength. Beam strength comes because of the width of the blade, but the thickness of that comes into play to give you that stiffness as well.